I genuinely didn't think we had any chance of signing a player like this, but somehow Aberdeen might actually be pulling it off. Welcome back to the Sir Alex Ferguson Aberdeen Challenge here on Super Sammy Plays. Last episode felt like the start of a completely new era for Aberdeen. Big signings, huge European wins, and suddenly this team looks capable of something special. But in this episode, things go even further. The Champions League campaign continues, Moises can't stop scoring, and somehow we might be able to pull off one of the biggest signings of the entire save. So let's get into it. And to guarantee more of these Champions League nights, we need to get past Ghent to get into the league phase of the Champions League. So, yeah, I think this is the final qualifying round now. We come out starting strong in this one as Keskinen pulls it back to the edge with Brandon Williams firing just wide of the post. Looking dangerous straight from kickoff. And then 7 minutes in, we get the breakthrough as Ayrton Moises gets on the end of a Ralston cross and does what he's been doing so far this season, and that is scoring goals from the striker position. We go close again after 25 minutes. After that, Brandon Williams playing it into Aouar. He tries a curling effort, but it just goes narrowly over. And that is how the first half finished. Second half was more of the same, but without too many clear chances. This being one of the main ones, with No Star having taken the corner, still out wide, shooting the centre-back, showing his low finishing as he fires over. And that is how the game finished, with the scoreline finishing 1-0. And we're looking good, ready to bring Ghent to Pataudry for the second leg. Next up, we had St Johnstone again. Obviously, just played them in the Cup. We now have them in the league. And yeah, they started off the stronger, going 1-0 up with a shot from the edge of the box from Halkett to put them 1-0 up. 6 minutes later, though, we go looking for a reply, and we come pretty close as the cross is cleared out to the edge with Brandon Williams, Redondo playing it in, and Keskinen getting the shot away, unfortunately going over this time. But we don't have to wait too much longer, as in the 40th minute, Ayrton Moises starting the attack, playing in Ralston. He plays it down the line to Carvalho, and Carvalho, nice little slip-through ball to Ayrton Moises, who is showing all the confidence in the world right now, firing low and hard past the keeper to take the scoreline at half-time to 1-1. We carried that momentum into the second half, with Ralston playing the ball down the line to Carvalho again, similar to the first one. This time comes back to Amaro, Aouar with Redondo with the shot, and unfortunately this one goes over the bar. But 65 minutes, Aouar squaring the ball to Ayrton Moises for his second goal of the game. This guy is flying at the moment, and we go on to win the game 2-1. So like I say, Ayrton Moises has been on fire recently, and with that win and the 2 goals that he scored, we do go top of the table. So we'll give him a little praise. Yeah, only really doing a job for us because Lazatic wasn't scoring and Cullen's obviously out injured, but he's certainly doing the business for us so far. 3 goals in 1 start and 1 sub-appearance in the league is certainly ideal. Then on to the second leg against Ghent. As long as we don't lose this, we'll be going into the league phase of the Champions League. So that is obviously where we're aiming to get to. And this was a cracker of a game as we start off the scoring within 2 minutes with Keskinen scoring, getting us off to a flyer. And then in the 22nd minute, Keskinen again, getting it back from Amaro and bending it around the keeper to give us a 2-goal lead. And we are looking comfortable. Then Ayrton Moises continues his good form as Balalovic goes down the right, pulls it into the middle, and Ayrton Moises is there to fire in to make it 3-0 and put this game pretty much completely to bed now. But we weren't done there, as on 32 minutes, Brandon Williams pulls it back to Redondo. He finds Keskinen, who slips it across to Balalovic, who fires home to make it 4-0 before we go in at half-time. That is how the scoreline is, with us being 5-0 up now on aggregate. As you'd expect though, Ghent were much stronger in the second half, pulling a goal back pretty much instantly, 40 seconds into that second half, with a goal from Van Zier. And they nearly actually pulled another goal back. It's 51 minutes in. The shot comes in from miles out with Grandjean, but it pulls a really good save out of Charles. Keep the scoreline at 4-1. And then another chance, 60 minutes in. Cross comes in, headed, and somehow we managed to save it, and it sparked me into making a few substitutions. In 72 minutes, one of those substitutions in Lazatic paying me back by coming on and scoring a goal. before a few minutes later, he gets his second of the game as Kumas from the right whips it to the far post, and the big man gets his head on it to complete the scoring and give us a 6-1 lead, 7-1 on aggregate, and putting us through to the league phase of the Champions League. The most surprising thing of this is probably the fact that Amoro was actually man of the match and getting all the plaudits, as we scored 6 goals and he didn't score any of them, but he did get 3 assists and he got a 10 rating, so good to see him having a really good start to the season. Like, he did okay last season after we expected quite big things of him. Looks pretty good, and he's still only young, 22 years old, so hopefully he can continue to progress this season, and we'll see how he gets on. But we had a huge opportunity to improve that defensive midfield slot as the man who I am a massive fan of, Frank Kessie, became available. Unfortunately, after we signed Demirel, we didn't have the wages to complete the transfer, so I was panicking, trying to sell everyone I could to try and get him in to create the funds. So first off was Fraser. He went for 150k, so we made quite a loss on him. But obviously he's 33 years old, and we were never going to recoup the money we paid. Unfortunately, though, that wasn't enough, as we went back in for Frank Kessie, and he was looking for around 23,000 per week, and unfortunately, we were still only able to offer 5.5k. So we had to pull out of that before adjusting the budgets and whatnot and going back in for him. We then went on to sell Aremu as well. Unfortunately, it was only 81k. But the big thing is obviously that's 2 players off the wage bill. So that allowed us to go back in for Kessie, and unfortunately this time he weren't willing to speak to us after we'd kind of messed him around. So we waited a few days and went back in for him again, where he was happy to speak to us, and this is where I made a mistake. Because we don't currently have any money in the transfer budget. We just have a little bit, well, we don't even actually have anything in the wages, but yeah, I got a little bit excited and completely forgot to remove the loyalty bonus, and it came back to bite me in the butt. As when he come to put the transfer through, we didn't have the facilities, big man, to send that transfer through, and I ended up having to cancel the transfer, as we didn't really have anyone else that we could get rid of, and we didn't have any clauses to sell or anything. So I did try and get him to come back a couple of times, but unfortunately he weren't willing to speak to us before he went to sign for Copenhagen. So back to the Scottish Premiership. And next up, we had Celtic, and it did not start off great at all, as we go 1-0 down inside 2 minutes to a goal from Colombo. It then got even worse after 26 minutes. Kieran Tierney down the left-hand side plays a 1-2, and then Engels finding Nygren in the middle, who fires home to make it 2-0 and gives Celtic a 1-goal cushion. We go looking for a goal in the 43rd minute. Ours free kick is cleared to Keskinen on the edge of the box. And Brandon Williams picks it up and slips a ball through to Keskinen, who fires home to make it 2-1. And that is how we go in at half time. So, second half, Celtic go looking to try and extend their lead again. And Colombo fires home. But thankfully for us, it was offside. And we get a chance ourselves to get an equaliser, but unfortunately, our free kick goes over the bar, and we don't manage to score again, and the scoreline remains 2-1, and we lose yet again to Celtic. Next up, though, we go to Dundee, looking to try and get a win after a poor performance against Celtic. And we start off just as Celtic did against us by scoring a very early goal with Amaro pulling it to Redondo on the edge of the box, who fires into the top corner, giving us a goal and a great strike from him. We then add to that as Ralston crosses to the far post and Lazatic does what he does best and scores a header, giving us a 2-goal cushion before Auer makes it 3 just before half-time with a free kick, doing what he couldn't do against Celtic and fires into the top corner. And yeah, that is how the game finished, with not really much else happening. So we were back to winning ways and heading into another game against Hibs, looking to make it back-to-back and starting off horrendously as Robbie Orr gets brought down by Litherland, giving Hibs a penalty inside the opening 10 minutes. Thankfully, though, our new goalkeeper in Pierce Charles makes a good save to keep the scoreline at 0-0 and saving Litherland's bacon. Brandon Williams then spreads it out wide to Carvalho, who goes looking for Lazatic in the middle. Unfortunately, it goes out for a corner. And then we get another chance on 37 minutes with Amaro with a long-range effort. Saved again and put out for a corner. And, yeah, a pretty boring game. And there was not a single highlight in the whole second half of this one. So, as you can see, though, after 6 games played, we are level on points with first and third Celtic and Rangers. But they both have a game in hand on us. So we are at a slight disadvantage, but not the worst start. And, yeah, hopefully we can improve and try and get to the top of the table. But now, onto the Champions League, as we have our first league game against Copenhagen with some pretty good players. There's a midfielder, Sjoikvist, I think it's pronounced. Very good. Turns into an absolute superstar on this game. I've had him on another save and he literally turned into a £200 million player. We've also got the ex-Wonder Kid in Yusufa Makoko up front and another young striker in Chiaka who also turns out pretty good on this game. So a good test, but one that I'm certainly hoping that we can come through and try and get 3 points. As we go in at half-time, 0-0. Pretty mediocre first half. As the second half starts with a bang. As Copenhagen score within 7 minutes of the kick-off. But thankfully for us, it was offside and we get away with one there. Then 5 minutes later, Carvalho goes down the right. Cuts in on his left. Ayrton Moises squares it to Lazatic, who fires into the bottom corner to give us a 1-goal lead. Copenhagen go looking for an equaliser, and that young wonder kid I was on about, or ex-wonder kid rather, Makoko, hits the post before they have another chance out here on the left-hand side with a Churi. He cuts in on his right, tries to bend it in the far corner, but thankfully Charles gets a hand to it and puts it out for a corner. And then 78 minutes in, Ayrton Moises pulls it into the middle and Amaro fires low and hard to give us a 2-goal lead, and that is where the game finishes with us winning 2-0 and getting off the league stage with an absolute flyer with 3 points. Back to the Scottish Premiership now. We had Kilmarnock and we are welcoming the man we've just sold in Ryan Fraser back to Pittodrie. So he'll be looking to do something against us, but for us, Anthony Ralston turning into prime Vinicius Jr., cutting in on his right foot from the left-hand side, firing home before Carvalho assists Awa to give us a 2-goal lead inside 37 minutes. And yeah, we're looking pretty comfortable in this one. We then add a third as Cullen fires over the top to Carvalho, who beats the keeper to make it 3-0. Hilly do eventually pull one back with that man Ryan Fraser being involved. Pulls it across, gets saved out to David Watson, and he fires into an open goal. As the game finishes 3-1, and we add another 3 points in the league. So, like I say, Ryan Fraser played against us in that game, so he suffered a defeat, which is great for us. And Gabby Carvalho showing signs of the reason why we paid the money that we did for him. Also getting all the plaudits from the assistant there, Ryan Kerr. And yeah, it's also good to see that he is progressing in training and especially in positioning, which makes no difference for an attacker, but never mind. Back to the Champions League, we have Olympiacos next, so I would imagine this will be a little bit more of a test as they go close with a free kick inside 15 minutes. It then comes out to the right-hand side, and Aubert cuts in on his left, goes past his man, and the shot is saved by Charles. They get the breakthrough though after 21 minutes as Suzuki fires home after Chiquinho's cross, and that is how the first half finishes. Second half though, we were much better. Zamaro gets it. Redondo plays it through to Cullen. He lays it off to Keskinen, who fires over the bar. And then Carvalho down the right. Slips it through to Awa. Awa's cross is blocked. The header from Chiquinho comes back to Carvalho and he shoots on his left foot, bending it into the far corner. I'm pretty sure that's his weaker foot as well, lad. And yeah, getting us back level before Gabby Carvalho tries to go and look for the winner himself, and his cross is blocked, saved by the goalkeeper to put out for a corner, and that is where we finish with the scoreline remaining at 1-1, and we had a point 2 out of 3 from the first game. Now, yeah, pretty happy, a good start in the Champions League. And after the whole transfer debacle with Kessie, we went and looked for another defensive midfielder, and we managed to find Renato Sanchez on a free transfer. I'm actually surprised this guy's 30 years old. It feels like he has been around forever, but he was so young when he came on the scene. It's like Still feel like he shouldn't be 30, but I certainly think he will be a massive improvement to our midfield. As you can see, he prefers to play as a centre mid. He's only just accomplished as a defensive midfielder. But we'll see how we get on, because if performances don't improve, we'll be looking at changing tactics, and he might end up playing his preferred role after all. So this team just keeps getting stronger. Moises can't stop scoring, and the Champions League campaign is off to a flyer. And the quality in this squad is probably the best it's been since we started this save. But now comes the difficult part. Making it all gel and putting in some consistent performances. Let's see if we can put a run of wins together in the next episode. Do me a favour, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys in the next episode as we look to see what a 30-year-old Renato Sanchez can do.